Lars Ricard, hi, nice to see you. Mohammed, nice to see you as well. Good to hear that the sound is clear. Hope the picture is clear as well, because the content is going to be rock solid. But all right, it is 3 o'clock in Helsinki. It might be 1 past some other hour where you guys are located, but nevertheless, let's kick it off. So a very warm welcome to another Cloud People webinar. Today's topic is a very, very interesting one. Sulzer and I myself, we are going to discuss their road, or Sulzer's road to back to out of the box. What were the reasons behind it? How did it go? And what was the lessons learned? And along the road, we'll give some key takeaways, some lessons learned. We'll talk about the journey. And my ask for the audience is that let's make this a very interactive session. There is a chat bar on the right hand of your screen. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat. We will take those questions when there is an appropriate time, or then in the end. And we are going to launch a couple of polls during the webinar, and those polls will then have a question related to the content that is specific to that slide or to that topic that we are then covering. Having said that, very warm welcome to our webinar, and let's go ahead and introduce today's speakers. Oops, something happened. Yeah, here it is. So, my name is Hannes Hirvikallio from the Cloud People. If you frequented our webinars, you've probably seen my face, heard my ready style English. Not much of an intro here. I look after the license part of our business this year, and also some part of the partner network as well. And I'm joined today by our esteemed customer, Sulzer, and I will give the floor now to Francois to introduce himself, and then over to Timo.
Thank you, Hannes, and good afternoon, everyone from Switzerland, where I'm based. More specifically, Sulzer is headquartered close to Zurich. I'm heading the IT service management and automation function, 8 years within Sulzer. I kind of have multiple hats, but for what is relevant here, I will mention the most important one, which is basically the ITSM processes, the framework of the processes globally within Sulzer IT, the aspect of the global service desk, which is our first line service desk, providing support 24/7 globally to 13,000 plus users. And last but not least, I'm also the platform owner of ServiceNow. And in that context, that's particularly the context we're going to discuss today. Having said that, Timo, handing over to you.
Thank you, Francois, and good afternoon also from my side, and good morning if there's somebody from the US or those time zones. I'm located in Helsinki, Finland, part of Francois' team. I'm the ServiceNow product owner, so key stakeholder in this project as we went live with the out-of-the-box solution. Been also in Sulzer 8 years, same time as Francois, and also have a multiple hats, but the ServiceNow product owner is the key in today's session. Hannes?
All right, thanks to Francois. Okay, let's go ahead with the content. So today, as briefly explained, we're going to cover Sulzer back to out of the box story. So we're going to look at the background, the timeline, how long did it take, what did we learn on the journey, how did we do, what were the driving factors behind it, and why Sulzer needed to do this change or this project. And then, of course, we're going to look at the lessons learned, key takeaways. But we're going to first off start by introducing the companies, introducing the parties here. We introduced the speakers already, but let's have a quick round of who the companies are. So if you're new here in our Cloud People webinar, we are a 100% ServiceNow focused consultancy company. We provide services to our customers pretty much in the regions pictured here in the picture. So that's where we have our offices and our teams. So you might think that there's nothing in Asia Pacific yet, but stay tuned. There might be in a short while. But we're very much focused in Europe. We have our roots in Northern Europe, and that's where we started the business a little bit over 5 years ago, and growing fast and growing steadily to our current size. So as said, only doing ServiceNow, a range of services when it comes to ServiceNow within implementation, within license sales, within consultancy, integrations and advisory. And we're very much focused on certifications, of course. So ServiceNow certified consultants or certifications, excuse me, we have over 500 of those. And the ones that we are particularly proud of are the certified master architects and the certified technical architect certificates, which are very few and far between. So to list those, I think we have currently 6 of those certificates. And to my knowledge, that's the most that any Northern European ServiceNow partner has in that area. So having said that, I will give the floor once again to Francois, who will take us through the content part of today's webinar. Go ahead, Francois.
Thank you, Enes. We gonna talk a bit about our project Back to the Box, so-called Vanilla. That's been the name of the project. But let's first maybe give you a bit of context, who we are, what is our environment. So as I mentioned, Sulzer is a headquarter in Switzerland. We are present globally around the world. I would say 50% of our workforce in the EMEA region, and then the other half being almost equally spread around Americas and Middle East, and India, Asia region. Sorry. Sulzer is active in fluid engineering. That's our main area, I would say. And we are structured around 3 main divisions. That's the way our business is organized. Our business organized in 3 those divisions, plus global function like IT, which has been the first function back in 2014 to get globalized, I would say, at the corporate level. To give you some sense, I've mentioned before about the 13,000 plus employees globally. As you can see, we are present really around the globe, as I mentioned already, and our IT services are provided to all these users, with some part to be centralized, some part being regionalized, some part being local. And from a support perspective, we are providing service centrally 24/7 in multiple languages to all your users around the globe. Talking about our ServiceNow landscape, just to give you a sense of how is ServiceNow within Sulzer. We had ServiceNow really as the ERP for IT. As probably many of you have encountered, we are with ServiceNow since 2016. We went live beginning of 2016. And at that time, it was really focused on IT. That was also the root and where the background and of ServiceNow. But we've seen things changing over time, and we are also moving from this really focus in IT into making ServiceNow one of the strategic platform within Sulzer, not only supporting IT, but also supporting the business. We currently have 4 instances. We had few more instances for the migration, but we will talk about that later. And then I listed here the products we are using, and to give you a sense, also number of fulfiller licenses we have, or App Engine users or business stakeholders that we are currently having in our environment. We have a number of integrations. This is growing, I will say, almost maybe not every week, but every month. So that number of 15 might even not been really up to date, but it's if it's not that one, it's super close to. And we're currently running on Washington DC release. We usually do one annual upgrade, and you will understand especially why we have been doing only one annual upgrade, which maybe will change for the future. You see on the right-hand side, or old, if I may say, before going back to the box, or old portal on the back end, and on the front end, or new portal based on Employee Center that we have, we went live end of last year as part of the vanilla project. Maybe some of you are familiar with the capability map from ServiceNow. I know it's a busy slide, but I thought there is a less busy version, but I thought that for the ones that are really familiar with ServiceNow, it might make good sense for you to have an understanding of what we are using, what we are licensed, but not really deployed, or what is not in our current scope. From the left, we have customer experience. We have recently implemented CSM on our new instance, which just went live a couple of weeks ago. Of course, you see the ITSM pillar being fully, I will say, colored, because that's obviously where we are coming from with incident, problem, change, request, and so on and so forth. We have on the other side, we use the operating excellence, which is basically SPM, or for the old ones like me, PPM, as it's been named before. So we use particularly the demand management, innovation project, and agile development are the key elements that we are using on that side. We have one custom app that has been developed already back 2016 or went live, I think 2016, which is used in the space of, in one other division in space of QA, of quality, that we are still operating and on the ServiceNow platform. And then you see on the bottom that, of course, we try to leverage as much as the foundation and the core services and features that are offered by ServiceNow, which we especially been even going further in the context of the re-implementation and the vanilla project. Now, let's talk a bit about the context. As I mentioned before, we went live in 2016, so we implemented first in 2015. And if you remember, for the ones that might have been already working with ServiceNow at that time it was pretty clear ServiceNow was highly promoting the fact that they offer a foundation, they offer a platform with certain processes and offer you the ability to make your own customization. So we've been leveraging that possibility, that opportunity quite intensively within Sulzer, especially because at that time we've implemented at the same time ServiceNow with a set of those ITIL processes globally. For the first time, we had one system, one set of processes, absolutely global within the organization. And I will say that at that time, ServiceNow was not necessarily at the level of maturity that we aim to go. So what happened is that to implement the process and to implement this framework the way we envision it, we had to make quite some customization. This is valid especially on the ITSM area, and even more on the, again, at that time, PPM or SPM today, in that area of demand and projects that we have been using quite intensively at that time. That product was, I will say, really not mature. So we had made a huge amount of customization in that space. The result of that is that over the time, of course, the cost of maintenance went pretty high. As you probably all experience, or some of you experience, and it's the truth for ServiceNow, but that's valid everywhere. When you make customization, great, you get exactly the way the process at the very last dot, the way you want, but there is a cost associated to that and effort in terms of maintenance. It's also very difficult to leverage new features. So if I come back to the example of SPM, we did a lot of customization, a lot of features that was not available at that time. And then, you know how it works. ServiceNow, they saw what we have been doing, and they say, oh, great idea. And in an upcoming release, then they came up with some, I will say, additional features, additional functionalities that serve the same purpose of your customization. But then come to the question about, okay, how do I move from my customization back into the standard now that is included? And we never really done that, or to a very limited extent. So you end up with also having not only a high cost, but also you, in proportion, you use less and less of the features that are available to you over the time, because they add features, but you're not able to leverage those. And worse than that, you also need to sometimes do additional customization to stick with the customization you have and the new features they bring. So very tough, very difficult at a certain point to continue with that. And I've mentioned about the upgrade process that we have been doing only one. The consequence of customization, as you probably all know, is the fact that the upgrade process tend to be pretty long. So in 2023, we sat and we said, well, we need to do something. I would say that it was somehow in my mind already probably a part of the previous year, but 2023 have been the year where we say, okay, we need to do something. And then we look at different scenarios, trying to remove customization. So you kind of try to dismount what you have created. But we see that it was not a valid approach, and we take the approach to go for a complete re-implementation, and an implementation which will be back to the box, in the sense that this time we want to follow, also because ServiceNow guidance have changed, and there is much more prescriptive today than compared to what it was in 2016 or 15. So decision really been, let's try to see why are the standard process, the way they are delivered by ServiceNow, could not work for us. And that challenged a lot the organization that is not necessarily used to that. But I would say that at the end, we've been pretty successful into challenging the as-is and go with that mentality of saying why this will not work for us, instead of saying, what do you want? We result into, or we aim to obviously reduce the number of customization. That will result into reducing the maintenance effort, increase our agility to take on new features and basically go with the flow if you want. And that basically unlock the new potential. It's also about building that solid foundation. So as I mentioned, we want to move from pure ServiceNow being seen as a IT tool into an enterprise platform. But for that, we really need to have a solid foundation for this growth, which we also aim to achieve by adopting the best practice as part of the implementation of the new vanilla instance. So that should give you an overview. Yeah, sorry, Hannes.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think I threatened the audience with a poll, and I think our first poll is going to launch at this point. You are going to see a couple of questions, a couple of options. So are you seeing basically the same challenges as have been now discussed here? Please take a minute and give your honest feedback. While you're doing that, I see people in the audience who I know, Francois, are struggling with the same thing. actually even further back from you guys. So there's a lot of customization. So I'm hoping that your experience will resonate within the audience, but I'm sure it will. And once again, a reminder, if you have any other questions, post them in the chat. And yeah, let's go forward. Thank you, Francois.
Good. Thank you, Hannes. So talking about the project, so we had a clear vision about what we want to achieve. We also put the proper structure around the project, having a steering committee with involving the different on the main, I would say, stakeholder or at the executive level. That goes with our CIO, with the different functional heads, but also, as I mentioned, this regional or IT organization or local IT organization, which are a very important stakeholder to us. So we also engage with those people, a project management, of course, and the partner and our partner representative. And then we build the project team with resources from Sulzer, resources from the partner at a different step of the project. That's something we're going to discuss in a minute. Adapting the need for the project delivery team to the stage of the project. Having said that, I will hand over to Timo to take you through the timelines of our journey.
Thank you, Francois. Thanks for the introduction and first part of the show, as I would say. Talking about the project timeline, as Francois mentioned, we had the old instance pretty customized and tried to remove the customizations from the old setup. Also discussing, is that the correct way to go already quite early? I would say it's around 22 already. And then coming into the conclusion that, hey, this definitely doesn't work in the beginning of the year or beginning of first half of the 2023. That was the time when we actually made the project team, of course, the first round of project team, not the full set as displayed on the previous slide. And then we started to see what do we need, where do we need to go, and also establishing the partner selection, asking offers, reviewing things from the offers, reviewing also how to do things and how the partners actually would like to do them, how they would see how should we proceed on forward. We made the decision about the partner who will be starting the project, kicking it off in the summer 23, and decided then that in the August 23 we will have a workshop targeting or aiming that we got the basic processes face-to-face defined, gone through, design them, make sure that they stay as out of the box as possible. Basically, that means that, for example, incidents, problems, changes, things like that, knowledge were defined in those. Also, we went deeper into the CMDB topics and things like that. But definitely the 1 week with the full project teams, representatives from the regions, representatives from the global view, from SAP to the other applications, to the infrastructures, service management. We got a good start, really good start in there, but definitely saw that we already need more. While continuing after that first week of face-to-face workshops, we actually moved into the remote workshops as the people were located across the globe from Australia to US. So there's a bit of time difference between us as well. So we have to cope on those. Defining certain things. And one big thing that we also did on the remote workshop was the request management, as that's a huge part for us as well. Continuing for other areas as well still in 23. At the same time, we also saw that the normal operational development that we want to bring in something new or enhance something, that workload was lowering and lowering and lowering, and made the decision that, okay, when we have the instances available, or the first instance available at that point, we can start utilizing the developers that normally do the running operations development or smaller enhancements in there, deploy those stories that were already done, confirmed, and ready for the foundational things to be already developed, already made available into the vanilla instance at that point. Continuing towards end of the 2023, that's actually a point when we sit down with Francois and discuss that now things are starting to evolve. How do we move forward? When do we start actually implementing the project, and how do we want to do it? And realize it on that point that the partner that we have selected is not suitable for us when we go to the implementation phase. And that utilized actually the beginning of 24 when we started to look a new partner, and that's when the cloud people came along, and we did the transition from the old partner to the new partner in the beginning of the year 2024. So there's a lot of things on during that time that we had to do. As you can guess, that the old instance need to be still maintained, keep the lights on. The new developments was already foundational, was already partly done, and there was some things that can be started pretty quickly. But also the handover of preparation as well on the side as knowledge transfers and things like that. And on the second quarter of 24, the cloud people was onboarded fully into the project, the vanilla project, as well as taking over the old instance maintenance. And that was the point when we did also review, as the previous partner did write us the stories that we use for development. The cloud people also and was involved that there was a bit more senior people looking over, going through those stories, validating, are they good enough for the development, first of all, or do we need to clarify something in there? Second point was part of them was estimated as how many hours or effort they would require, and some of them were missing. So basically doing also the refinements of how many hours development per story we actually need for each area and each story. We split the stories into the epics of different area. For example, incident management was one epic, request management was one epic, knowledge management one. So quite a lot of epics as well in there, all the way into the platform configuration as well. During that point, actually, we realized that we can keep all of the things that we do have, the processes pretty much out of the box, just configure them, not customize them. The review of the stories took a bit longer than we expected, actually. We expect them to run about a month, but we actually ran it about 1.5 months, bit over. And then we saw that, okay, we need 6 sprints, or there's clear work for 6 sprints that can be splitted and done of 2-week sprints. And then we decided, okay, let's lock the 6 sprints at the beginning of the summer, starting, running throughout the summer, and actually doing the development in there. After the 6 sprints, or even along those, we actually saw that what do we need to enhance, which are the important stories that we need to improve, or things that we did not realize when we did the story review and splitting those onto those 6 sprints, that, hey, here are the points that we actually need. We have to have it before we go live. So we added 2 kind of ad hoc sprints at the end before starting to prepare the actual go live. And the last sprint was mainly focusing on the getting the go live ready, getting the last pieces there, getting the configurations, the fine-tunement in there as well. So that was the after summer operations. And even in between, just bit before we went live, we had to actually upgrade the old instance, so that made a bit of a hassle in there. But then finally, we get into the go live of 19th and 20th of October, basically over the weekend. starting on Saturday morning, early morning, closing the old instance, closing the new instance basically only for us, confirming things are working and starting migrating the data. And we made a decision that we don't migrate closed data, we migrate only active data, so that tickets that were open, only those were migrated, and we keep the old instance available. Also, that as we have flows behind the requests, we made the decision that during the go live, we are not migrating the open request from the old instance to the new instance due to the fact that that would be breaking the flows in the backend as they were built differently. And those were closed in the old instance, even when the vanilla instance went live. Basically, that's pretty much the timeline that we had. Tough timeline, actually really nice working during the period, but definitely something also that we learned a lot during that time. But let's look at also a bit the achievements that we did on there. If we think about it, we had the 8 sprints, 6, as I mentioned, were pre-planned. We have total of 64 different epics, so a lot of things around there. 42 different products. So basically there was different things around the products. For example, incident management was one product, employee center was one product, and that kind of things was there. Total of 667 stories included into the project. Not all of them are actually developed. Some of them were decided on the way that, hey, we want to take a moment, take a breath, think about what do we actually want and what makes a value in there as well. All processes that we had in the old instance, they were migrated into the new one. So basically incident, major incident, request, part, change, problem, knowledge, idea, demand, project, agile, things that are the biggest ones. Most of the volumes that we do have is in the incident management, request management. After that comes the change and problem management as well. And as knowledge is important, we also migrated the knowledge articles, not articles, but those will still need a bit of work in the instance or our knowledge manager, that the screen clips or things to do, especially related when people are ordering something throughout the request into the portals, needs a bit of an update. During that one, we identified also that we need to do something after the go live. So we logged 42 enhancement stories during the go live and ran right after that one. So not a huge amount. And I think one definitely that we had a success in there during the hypercare that was planned for 2 weeks, extended a bit, I think it was 3 weeks actually. We only got 22 defects during that time. Of course, there's a few things that you notify a bit later, but let's see that the volume of the defects is super low according to the volume and amount of things that we did. As said, that one, also good to know that we built all the request flows from beginning, from scratch. I'm not sure, Francois, if you do remember how many request flows we do currently have, but there's something above, I would say 150.
Around that number, correct.
Yeah. Francois, do you want to say something also around the achievements?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously, as I mentioned before, and as Timo explained, we have completed that from a project perspective. Now, globally, if we look higher level, we really achieved to build the platform, this foundation that we have already been able to leverage, or pretty much for some, it went really in parallel. Because at the same time as we have been doing the migration, we also implemented IRM, so integrated risk management. As mentioned previously, we have now went live recently with CSM. for one use case. So we really have that as an achievement, that we have a foundation, we have a solid foundation that follow, I would say, best practice, and then allow us to leverage all the capabilities of ServiceNow, while obviously we have also, as explained, migrated our processes. And then we're really now into that, I will say, greenfield or vanilla or out of the box implementation. Ines, before we move on, I think you have a poll for another poll for the audience.
Yes. Let's do a poll, and also let's answer a couple of questions. We see good questions coming in. So first off, let's do this poll. So do you have similar plans to move closer to out of the box? And please provide your answers in the poll. I'll give you a few seconds for that. Easy choices there. But yeah, I also already commented to the question of Yanni that we'll take it in the Q&A session, but actually we changed the plan on the fly. So let's take the question actually now. So question from Yanni, I think maybe Timo or Francois, which of you will take it. But the question is that, did you change the CMDB data model during the project?
So we started with the CMDB topic a bit prior to the project, but I will say we fully implemented within the scope of the project, because we had the CSDM initiative that we started, I think, in 2022. Not running very fast at the beginning, but we've been into that in 2023, and we really implemented the vanilla instance following CSDM. So yes, there has been changes in the CMDB, because we have been historically also using some table in a slightly different ways. And again, because the CMDB was not at the same maturity when we implemented back in 2016. So answer the question in a nutshell, yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Francois. The next question, let's take it oh, sorry, Timo, did you have something else to hear? Yeah.
Also the Francois comment that, for example, one big thing that we did around CSDM is that we migrated the application from the old CMDB structure to the CSDM application service structure prior to the vanilla project. So that was one huge thing that we did.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, let's take one more question before we move forward. So the question from Mohammed is that, did you implement a complete freeze for any new requirements during the project? And yeah, if yes, how did you handle then the business stakeholders? And if no, how did you govern both parallelly?
Yeah. So I would say small changes and small enhancement, for example, to catalog item or things of this nature. We try, I mean, it was every time we get a request for something like this, we basically evaluate if that can hold, that can wait until the go live, or if the business had a faster, let's say, a more urgent need. So that was the first element. The other one was obviously the impact. And then it's a bit of additional workload, because you do your change in the production environment, so-called now the old environment, and in parallel you need to record that change as adding that new requirements into the story, which I will be honest, we fail in a couple of cases, and we had to adjust after go live, realizing that maybe some changes that have been done was not reflected. But I will say it was rather a small part of those cases. So that's the way we have been handling. And then if there was no urgency, or if it was bigger project, bigger demand, of course, we tell the business that, yes, we like to support, but then they have to wait until the new instance was live.
And I would fulfill that one as well, that most of the changes that we actually had to do, they were related to the request that there's something that business requires, that you have more mandatory information or legal requirements that you have to ask on the request form, for example, or additional approvals, things like that. And of course, a bit others as well. And key to keep the bit bigger one into the pipeline was definitely an open communication towards the business stakeholder that we have a big project we are renewing. Can you wait until we go live and then implement after that one? So
yeah. All right, thanks guys. So with that said, Francois, let's take the next slide, because I see a couple of questions still there, and I actually think that one of those questions will be answered by this slide. So
absolutely. Thank you, Hannes. So let's talk about what we have learned across this along this project, and my key takeaways, and what I will or together with Timo, when we prepared that, we really think out the point that we want to highlight to you guys. Very convinced about the out of the box. So you know, challenging yourself, challenging the organization. Why is that process will not work for you the way it is? It does not prevent configuration. It does not prevent adding certain custom field when it's really necessary, but really stick out of the box. And second is also leverage the features, know the features that are available in ServiceNow, because very often we start building something as a customization just because we don't know, we or our partner don't know that there is maybe a feature that is available out of the box. So also something where you need to grow and you need to have a certain product knowledge and understanding to ensure that you really leverage and don't start for good reason. You have business justification. You say, yes, this is something we have to do, but maybe you don't have to do it as a customization. There is something available in ServiceNow that you can leverage. So that's related to this knowledge element. Know your product, know your instance. Historically, and probably, I mean, I'm not going to say that was the reason, but back in 2016, within Sulzer, there was absolutely nobody having ServiceNow knowledge. Today, we have Timo, myself, that have product knowledge, I would say, as well as some technical part, and we have more technical advanced developer internally. I think that really having, and especially this product knowledge, absolutely crucial. Understand the functional capabilities of ServiceNow. Technical, yes, it's a plus, but I will say the functional is really key. We've been also very keen into defining clear expectation. You know, again, don't let people assume that they will get what they had before. So we've been very, I would say, transparent about our approach, our objectives, and the way we aim to achieve that. This drive into the way of managing that transition. It's a change for the users, for everybody, because there is a new interface, they have new templates for new notification layout, maybe the level of information, how the information is structured is a bit different than what they've been used to. But more than that, it's also for the fulfillers that it's a major change, because there is a number of functionalities or way to handle tickets that have changed with the new implementation. So get the people involved as early as possible, as part of the requirements already, with this mindset of, you know, why this process will not work. Yes, I understand you like this button that you had to reassign the ticket, but do you need it? Or at the end, you can also do it by just updating the group field, the assignment group field, for example. All of that, get the people involved in the requirements, get the people involved as early as possible in getting access to the new system. Of course, being aligned with the strategy. We have a 5-year strategy in Sulzer called Sulzer Excellence that is really which is transformational initiatives all around the business, and that we need to be aligned to. So it was important for us, and it is important to us to be aligned to that. And of course, not everything goes as smooth as you anticipate. So be ready for the challenges, for the issues. things will go wrong, no discussion. It's not about if something will go wrong. There is things that will go wrong. Anticipate how you will address that situation. I mean, you could not, or it will not be efficient to start planning for all kinds of scenarios, but it's more in the mindset of the team to establish clear and transparent communication between the different stakeholders, between the different governance bodies, between the different partners, or the partner and yourself, the client, have really that well established. The last is something that refer about the partner and what we have done within that project. When I came to the end of the project, end of last year, when we've been closing the project, I went back thinking about, okay, was the change, the decision we've made beginning of last year to change the partner, the right decision? And honestly speaking, while I was absolutely convinced about it at the beginning of really the first months of 2024, when we seen the issues we've been having with the partner, and we thought, oh, might not be the right, it would not be right for us to continue with them. Be mindful. Don't underestimate what will be the impact. With all the goodwill, we really had a fantastic collaboration with all the people from the cloud people, but don't underestimate what will be the impact of such a change. So I think that's not been in our cases maybe enough identified as a risk at that point in time. That's conclude on my side. Enes, I hand it over back to you.
Thank you, and I will throw the ball back to you for one question, which I think is fitting for the slide or the content of the slide from the previous one. Question from Dominika is that did you gather data, or were you able to gather data that proves the value of this project? And I'm guessing also the underlying question is that, have you calculated a business case? Did it make sense to do this project? Do you have numerical data to prove that it actually made sense?
I tend to say that it's probably a little bit early to assess it. We know what has been the effort. If I refer to the problem statement, we know what has been the cost of an upgrade. We know how much the normal operation cost us in terms of effort and resources. Now we are coming to the stabilization. We went live, in October. There's been, a stabilization period. We are coming to the end of that stabilization, I will say. And I think in the coming maybe 1, 2, 3 months, we will be able to really measure that difference. What I envision is, yes, it's a change that makes sense, and there is some elements, as I mentioned already, that are not necessarily element that I can necessarily really put a value into, like having that foundation, that solid foundation to be able to build on. But I think clearly IRM implementation, CSM implementation, I will not say will not have been possible will have been possible in our old instance, but I already know, and with some discussion we had with previously, I know that it will have been bigger effort than what it have been. So not yet completely to answer the question.
It makes sense. Early days. There's one follow-up question I want to take it at this point before at the end when we have a Q&A session, is that the question is that did your estimation of embarking on this journey, did the estimation and the reality, did they match up?
Very good question. Very good question. Yes and no, if I may say, and sorry for my my answer. I think I can say yes. We are pretty much in line with what we envision from project perspective for the budget. But in fact, we are a bit beyond that in the reality. And the reason is because of the additional effort that has been caused by this transition. The transition of partner have generated a significant amount of significant volume of work, as Timo mentioned prior. We had to have TCP reviewing all the stories, learning what the previous partner have designed, have prepared, and take that and maybe adjust some elements, and then learn all of that. That's an additional that has been an additional cost to the project. So overall, no. If I exclude this part, yes.
Okay. Good answer. Thank you for the answer. And then for the remaining questions, feel free to still post questions, but Nishu, Pete, and then Arun Moshi, we'll take those within a couple of slides. I'll just do my bit out of the way here, and then we'll get to the good questions. But all right, thank you so much, Timo. Thank you so much, Francois. What was the role of the cloud people then? What did we do? How do we work together? And if you have been in our webinars, you very often hear us talking about the importance of governance. So how do we discuss between ourselves, between a partner and a customer on all different levels that all revolve around ServiceNow? So the levels that we normally have these discussions are strategic, where we try to meet up, for example, quarterly or half a yearly or along those lines. We do have tactical meetings where we discuss mainly around topics of development topics and then architectural topics. And then there are the ongoing work meetings, the operational meetings, whether they are bi-weekly, weekly, or during massive rush hours or bigger projects, they might be daily or bi-daily. So that's the level of different governance structures that we normally put in place. And we have done so here together with Sulzer as well. Once again,
Sure. May I interrupt you a bit? As you mentioned, the daily, that was actually a good point that I saw in the vanilla project working with you guys, is that we had a daily stand-up with the developers, and I actually, as an owner, participated on those ones. So we got a lot of roadblocks off every day that they did not stand and wait for my reply sometimes after the call, for example, or if they had a developer had some issue in there. So in that case, that kind of a urgent replies on there works really well if you have a bigger project. Just put yourself in and available.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback. And we see that from other projects as well, that it lowers the threshold of just mulling over the issues, because you come with the issues, you get a feedback straight away, you hear where we're going, and the developer or the person doing the development there gets instant feedback and instant guidance. So when there are heavy rush hours during kind of heavy lifting projects, the dailies or the bi-dailies are really a good tool. Thanks. So that's our governance model in a nutshell. Varies a bit from customer to customer, but that's our generic model of how do we talk to our customers. Of course, vanilla project, or back to out of the box, as the title of the webinar is one part of what we do. And there is one question that we will answer after this slide. But if you look at the timeline where we are within our partnerships, there are several swim lanes. Now today we've been talking about the vanilla review and then of course the implementation, but there are multiple projects that then can coexist side by side, or then we tailor them to be on a more of a waterfall type approach. And all the time underlying would be the same generic team that then supports the whole of the platform during all of these set projects. kind of what we're today discussing, of course, is further development and future development. And I want to now take one question from the audience, from Pete, is that what's next for different modules? Basically, Francois, Timo, so what are your plans? Any plans for employee engagement? Do you see any challenges? But basically, the question on a broader context is what's next? And Francois, you're muted.
Sorry, guys.
Right.
Someone should do that. Someone should do that during the webinar. So it's me this time. So as you see, we have CSM phase 2. So this is something we will do. On the other side, what we have is, we will definitely look at opportunities to further. I mean, now that we have CSM implemented, to bring new use case into it. We are looking at, can we leverage Employee Center with Employee Center Pro as intranet? That's something that is a kind of on our mind and discussion with the respective team. And then we have other projects which are more on the security side with vulnerability response that we are currently investigating. So really, it is this addition into the existing platform now of what are the capabilities that ServiceNow is offering and make sense in our environment where we really want to consolidate our platform. That's part of our strategic objectives to leverage ServiceNow. I hope I answered the question of Pete.
I think you did. I think you did. So thank you, Francois. Then, as my last slide, just a concrete example of how does the fancy governance model or the meeting structure or the weekly schedules or the daily schedules, how do they then turn into different reports, different meetings? Just as an example, here's a typical report that we go then through together with Sulzer on what's going on, whether they're in support, development, or then from an hour-based point of view. So just as an easy way to see where we are and how well are we doing with simple green light effects. Once again, not rocket science, but just wanted to take as a concrete example as we're talking about this case today. So that was my final slide. I hope you found this informative. We still have a couple of questions, and I fear that they might be technical in nature. So I'm turning my eyes towards Timo. If you can answer, would be brilliant. But if not, then we can kind of come back to that. But let's take Aru Moshi's question. And yeah, guys, there's a poll also. Please answer the poll. But at the same time, I'm going to do Aru Moshi's question here is that when transferring active records from the old instance to a new instance, what's happening with the custom fields? How did you tackle that?
As mentioned already there in the bit of chat. So basically, some of the fields we want to get rid of. So we moved them into the out-of-the-box fields. Some of the fields we saw that we don't actually need them anymore. So let's get rid of them. And some of them actually were brought into the vanilla as well. So we can't fully give up custom fields in there. During the data migration, so we basically mapped the information that if you had a value in field that's not matching, so then we just made a mapping that you have work in progress, ready for testing, closed, skipped, and then it matches something into the vanilla or new instance. So everything is not there. Some of the information also mapped. For example, we knew that we have old service structure and we had to map to new service structure, service offering structure. Some cases, for example, incidents, requests, changes in the vanilla. So those were mapped, and some of them finally, as low number, we did manually during the go live weekend. So different kind of a mix in there. How did we do it?
Good.
Hope that answers the question.
I hope so. It was a good answer. So thank you so much. Before we end the event, hold on, what's happening here? just a reminder on the upcoming events. Of course, we're continuing to do a lot of webinars. Please check our website regularly. Next up is a webinar around Employee Center. And then if you happen to be in Norway, very warm welcome. Or if you happen to be in Germany, very warm welcome during March, where we are present in 2 different events. But I think it's time for the final poll before we close here. And Sasha, are you launching it? Nope. Cool.
I think it was the previous question that we
Okay,
already.
So, all right, I should pay more attention then. That's brilliant. I will just leave you with some of the contact information if you want to have a more detailed, or if some question was not answered, feel free to reach out on behalf of Francois and Timo. And having said that, I wish you a very nice continuation of the week. Thank you for a very active participation and hope to see you in the next webinar. So thank you from my part.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.
A good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.